The CIA, BlackRock, and politicians all don't want you to know what I'm about to tell you because it is so upsetting and goes so deep. There are very close ties between the deep state in the United States of America and every single presidential candidate and politician today. And the kinds of things the deep state does will really amaze and shock you. As soon as I heard about it, I couldn't believe it. It's such a bad use of power and technology these days. Now, I'm going to talk about this in more depth with Whitney Webb because it changed the way I think about a lot of things, and I hope it does the same for you. Press the like button, and let's begin. Before Peter Thiel became a venture capitalist, J.D. Vance met Peter Thiel for the first time when Vance was in law school, and Thiel then offered Vance his first job in venture capital at Mithril Capital, a company Thiel started. Afterward, Vance joined forces with Steve Case, co-founder of AOL and Revolution Ventures. He oversaw a fund there called Rise. I think Rise of the Rest got a lot of money from the Walton family, which owns Walmart, Jeff Bezos, and other well-known members of the American oligarchy. He then started his own venture capital firm, Naria Capital, with a lot of help from Peter Thiel and Eric Schmidt, who gives a lot to Biden's campaign and is very involved in his science and tech policy. In fact, it's interesting that both of them lead or are on the steering committee of the well-known Bilderberg meeting. Peter Thiel also gave Vance a lot of money when he chose to run for office or the Senate. I think Peter Thiel gave him $15 million for his campaign, which was, and maybe still is, the biggest gift ever made to a Senate candidate. After that, J.D. Vance ran as a never-Trumper and was very against Trump. He was chosen as his running mate, possibly because Peter Thiel personally helped smooth over that tense relationship by taking J.D. Vance to Trump's Mar-a-Lago to do so. After that, Vance became a big supporter of Trump. And it's possible that a lot of people have called Vance a Peter Thiel protege, and I agree with them, given the proof. That's mostly true, but Peter Thiel has a lot of students. Vance is one of them, and he's well known in the Republican Party. Other notable proteges are Sam Altman of OpenAI and WorldCoin, Palmer Luckey of the defense startup Anduril, and Mark Zuckerberg of Oculus Rift, the virtual reality system that was sold to Facebook. Peter Thiel was on the board of Oculus Rift from 2005 until 2022, when he quit to try to get candidates who supported Trump. A lot of things make Peter Thiel important. If I had to start with Peter Thiel, I would say that he helped to create PayPal. In this way, PayPal is one of these well-known financial websites or fintech sites. It was one of the first sites in this field. And, from the very beginning, people who helped start PayPal, like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, have said that they were talking with intelligence organizations and government agencies from the start about what those groups were and what they would basically back in a fintech company. And as I wrote for Mint Press back then, the person who now owns PayPal was involved in making the intercept. This made the Snowden leaks more private, and many of them never came out. Some of the ones that never came out were said to go into depth about PayPal's alleged long-term friendship with intelligence agencies. Except for PayPal, Palantir is the clearest sign that Peter Thiel has ties to intelligence. He started the company in 2003, but it didn't really start up as a business until around 2004 or 2005. The CIA's venture capital arm, QTEL, gave it its first money. Up until 2008, the only client it had was the CIA. Palantir engineers say they went to the CIA offices over 200 times between 2005 and 2009, where they were given direct advice and made changes to their software products. These products are now used by healthcare agencies and intelligence agencies all over the world. Palantir is used by the US HHS and CDC, as well as the NHS in the UK. It's really spread around the world. As I've said before, Palantir is probably a front company for the CIA. Alex Karp and Peter Thiel wanted to privatize the Total Information Awareness Program, which had just been cut off by Congress. Total information awareness grew out of the domestic surveillance programs that were in place during the Reagan and Bush administrations. Some of these programs came up during the Iran-Contra case and have to do with things like keeping government policies fresh. And the main core database, which are attempts to label people based on what they do online, like calling domestic dissenters subversives. But in the 1980s, it was based on something else. These days, it's your online behavior. In other words, Palantir looks at the information the NSA gathers about you to decide if you're a threat or not. As for the continuity of government procedures, they are still in place in case the US government wants to use them. People who Palantir calls subversives could lose their constitutional rights if those methods are ever used, which could happen in very vague situations. As far as the national security state goes, Palantir's role in that was very bad, and they've been involved in a lot of other parts of government as well. It's getting more and more swollen and bigger over the years. It was deeply involved in Ukrainian military activities during the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It is now playing a huge role in Israel's war on Gaza, which, as Mint Press readers know, is using AI to kill whole families in large numbers. They're very proud of the fact that Palantir is a big part of that. When asked about that not long ago, Peter Thiel said that his leaning was towards Israel. The use of AI, this war machine driven by AI that is, killing people in the Gaza Strip. There are also many other things to say about Palantir. I mean, this business has a really bad past. A lot of people forget that they came up with the first plan to shut down WikiLeaks and pitched it to the federal government. They called it the WikiLeaks threat and stop a report based on a national security leak. Before we go back to the video, I'd like to quickly say that I think now is a great time to start a long position on XRP. Because of that, I'm going to do that. You can open a long position on XRP with 5x leverage on your Margix account if you'd like to trade with me. I'll let you know when I'm thinking about taking gains on this position. Going to place a slightly smaller order now. It will be for about $5,000, which is about 5% of my total futures trade portfolio. I'm going to do that right now at the 56-cent level, and you guys are welcome to open up another spot next to me. Let's do it again. Use the link I've given you below to sign up. Come back to the movie. I said that I wanted to go after guys like Julian Assange and Glenn Greenwald. This company doesn't care about your constitutional rights like freedom of speech, privacy, or any other right you have as a citizen. They directly allow the national security state to spy on all Americans without a warrant and use that information to make a profile of you. Another bad thing is that we all know how Peter Thiel's support during Trump's first campaign led to Palantir getting what the New York Times called a bonanza of contracts with the military and, even more so with us intelligence and the US military. Elon Musk, the other co-founder of PayPal, is now strengthening his ties with intelligence agencies through SpaceX. SpaceX was already technically an intelligence contractor since Space Force is both a military branch and an intelligence agency. So what you're really seeing here is a group of billionaires, sometimes called the PayPal Mafia, whose ties are deeply rooted in both sides. If you are against war in the United States, why do you think people still vote for the lesser of two monsters and think that will stop these terrible, murderous wars? Of course it hasn't. I mean, they're both warmongers and have close ties to Israel, whether you vote Republican or Democrat. In fact, both parties and RFK Jr. are like this. It doesn't matter if any of these people get in. Israel will keep killing Palestinians with AI. All of those tools are also being planned. The plan is to use those at home in the future. They checked them out in Ukraine. Palestinians are being used as test subjects. They are going to test them on all the silent people in the world. Then they'll use them against Americans again. And that's what this whole system of internal terror is doing. And choosing for one of the two parties that are building this nightmare won't stop it. It seems like it should end. So honestly, anyone who has all this new energy, whether it's for Trump, Kamala, or someone else thinking that these people will be better for Gaza or for any of these issues should not vote for them. These parties are garbage, and RFK Jr.'s views on Israel and Gaza are also garbage. There isn't a good choice, except for Jill Stein. Although I agree with you on that problem, I think we need to get together and do something else. We can't just sit back in our chairs and vote and expect this madness that has been going on for decades and decades to end. Okay, I know it's easy to get caught up in the election season, but if you're against war and the deep state, the out-of-control national security state, you can't vote for either candidate with good conscience. And, some people say, oh, you can't. Then who would you pick? We can't make either choice. It doesn't matter in any case. But I mean, voting for the lesser of two evils when both evils back all of these terrible policies and wars that kill millions of people. What are we going to do? It's clear that this isn't working. We need to do something else. There are so many things that make me sad and uncomfortable about the fact that left-wingers still say to vote Democrat to avoid Trump fascism, Whitney. But the truth is that both parties are fascist and worse in many ways than the other. What about you, who is a less fascist person?